I'll suggest a fourth one that's kind of off the wall, but I think it is really helpful for people to clean up their environment. If you go into people's kitchen and you take out all the contraband, you go in there and get rid of all of the cookies, the easily ingestible, high sugar foods that people tend to snack on late at night or whatever, it's not enough to just clean up the environment. You have to put things in there that are positive alternatives, because people get hungry. And when you get hungry, you're going to want something to eat. But if you cut some vegetables up in there that you keep in water, celery, carrots, whatever, just something that if you would kill to get something to eat and you have some healthy alternatives in there, that will become the behaviors that replace the other habit. So if you go in and clean up your environment and replace it with positive alternatives, look, you can get in the car and drive to the convenience store and get a box of cookies or chips or whatever, but you're much less likely to do that than you are to just walk in your kitchen and graze.
Because we're lazy some days.
Yeah.
We don't want to try. I'll go one step further, Dr. Phil, and I'll remind people, stop buying them, right? And we're guilty of that at home sometimes too. And people will say, well, I bought it for my kids. I bought it for my spouse.
They don't need it either.
That's right. It's a family affair. And that's sometimes why people fail, because one partner is trying to be healthy and the other one isn't. And that can create tensions and challenges too. And it's really a family affair. And you'd be doing better to not just clean out that environment, but then be like, oh, hey, you don't need to go buy it and have it there, because if it's there, you're going to eat it.
I think cleaning that up and not replenishing it, that would be a great environmental control. You're now programming your environment to support your goal. I think that's really important. I think if people would write down, even for a few days, what they're actually consuming, they would be stunned.
I ask patients to do that every now and then. I've done it too.
Very
just for
depressing.
myself. And you have to, you ignore the first 2 days because people try to do better because they want to, get a good report card. But then you look at it and you be like, because I've had so many people be like, I only eat salads. I'd be like, you don't only eat salads. And then you realize that, hey, you're doing that nighttime noshing, you're having snacks in between. Every now and then I've been eating these butter cookies. Stop getting them. But people then, when they sit down and look at it with me and say, oh, whoa, I really was eating a lot. Not usually on the 3 scheduled meals, but it's the stuff in between and at night.
Yeah. It's what you can eat when you break off a piece of cookie that doesn't, that doesn't make it okay.
That's right.
If we get people mindful of diabetes, what are they likely to notice that would be a tip off to them that, hey, this really is something I might need to check on? What are the symptoms they're going to notice first?
Some of the early warning signs are that you're starting to urinate a lot more often than you think. And the average for most people is about 7 times a day, just in case they're wondering. Because what's happening is your high sugar load that's staying in your bloodstream is pulling out water from your cells. So you're peeing a lot. And then in conjunction with that, you become thirsty a lot. I saw a patient about a month and a half ago that she came in, her blood sugar was in the 400s, and she said to me, she's so thirsty, she almost, you can't make this up, wanted to drink out of the toilet bowl. She's just so thirsty. That's because she's losing so much water. She's becoming dehydrated because of the high sugar load. So when people tell me that they're thirsty a lot, I get a little bit concerned. I'll tell you, a bad sign that it's progressed significantly is what we call the neuropathies, the tingling, the numbness. Once you experience that, usually you're diagnosed with diabetes, and that's hard to reverse. Our medications aren't great, but that thirsty feeling that you're having more often, that urinating, the excess weight gain. Because what's happening is, think about it, you're using insulin to bring glucose into your cells, which is your energy. In Type 2, when you have that resistance, you're not getting that glucose into your cells, that energy. So what do? You actually eat more because you're trying to get energy because your insulin is still working somewhat. So you start to gain a lot of weight. And some of that can be directly due to diabetes as well as causing diabetes. So those are some of the early warning signs.
Let's talk about how important sleep is.
Sleep is something over the last 10 years that we've learned the importance of. And I'll be honest, during residency, and as you know, in healthcare, it's always almost like a badge of honor, right? Oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep. Nobody feels good after not getting a good night's sleep, whether it's, a crying baby or a sick spouse. Nobody feels good. There's a reason why we don't let pilots, right, fly planes when they're sleepy, because we know that they're going to make mistakes. And what do you think's happening internally to your body? Your cells are making mistakes. But sleep is always the thing that we're always willing to get rid of first. I'll do it another time. Or there's this imaginary sleep bank, right, that will catch up on the weekend, deposit some extra sleep, and will benefit. Sleep really is critical to overall health.
Yeah. Now, what's good? Is it 7 hours, 6, 8? What do people need to try to target?
For most people, it's 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Now, there is a genetic variant where people only need 4 to 5 hours of sleep, but that is extremely rare, and most people don't have it. They think they do, but they don't. It's general 7 to 9 hours, but it's not just the quantity, Dr. Phil. It's also that quality, right? You want that what we call restorative sleep. So if you weren't feeling well, you got the flu, you're not feeling great, what's the first thing that you do? You go to sleep because you instinctively know that's going to help your body recharge. If you're not getting that sleep on a daily basis, then it's a problem. And we all have trackers, rings. I'm calling the smart jewelry, the watches, the rings, the others. You can monitor your sleep and you can see how you're doing. And we need to make sleep a greater priority.
Yeah. I think if people would really pay attention to seeing how much they're actually getting on a regular basis, it would have a profound impact on how they feel. Because if it's erratic and if they're sleeping too much, catching up on weekends, that can leave them groggy. Then during the week, they're not getting enough. Again, you talk so much about pattern and patterns across time. I just think that we're really not focusing enough on sleep. It just gives people that regeneration time that they need, that reparative time that they need.
We don't put an importance on it, and we need to change that. I loved your point about too much sleep. We forget about that. That's often a harbinger, a sign of something serious going on, whether it's depression or thyroid disease or other issues. I wish doctors would talk to people more about their sleep and how well they're sleeping and the quality of their sleep, because we are having an issue in terms of challenges with sleep for many people, partly due to the stress that they're under. And that's not going to go away if, as you point out, you're not intentional about trying to solve it. It just doesn't get better. Most things don't over time, but we tend to think somehow they will.